In 1977, someone, or something, sent a signal. We received it. We didn't know what to do with it. We wrote "wow" in the margin and waited for it to come back. It didn't, for 46 years. And then, in 2023, it did. Not from the same direction, not from space, from inside a converted barn in rural Ohio where 12 amateur astronomers were pointed at the sky on a Tuesday night with a second-hand receiver. And what came back wasn't just a signal, it was a message. And the message was addressed, specifically, precisely, unmistakably, to the telescope that received the original in 1977. As if whoever sent it knew exactly where we had been listening from, and had been waiting for us to listen again. On August 15, 1977, a radio telescope at Ohio State University was scanning the sky. The telescope was called Big Ear. It had been scanning continuously since 1973, part of SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, a program that involved pointing large antennas at the sky and waiting for something to come back that wasn't supposed to be there. Most of what came back was noise, static. The background hum of a universe full of natural radio sources, stars, gas clouds, pulsars, the residual radiation left over from the beginning of everything. At 11:16 p.m., the receiver picked up something different. It came from the direction of the Sagittarius constellation. It arrived on a frequency of 1,420.4556 megahertz, the frequency of hydrogen, the most common element in the universe, the frequency that scientists had long theorized would be the natural choice for any civilization attempting to make contact across interstellar distances. It lasted 72 seconds, and then it was gone. 3 days later, an astronomer named Jerry Amen was reviewing the printout. He found the anomaly. He read the signal strength values. Each column represented a different intensity reading, and this sequence was so far outside anything normal that Amen did the only thing that seemed appropriate. He circled it, and in the margin, he wrote one word: "Wow." The signal was reported. It was studied. It was looked for again and again over the following decades. Hundreds of hours of telescope time aimed at the same patch of sky. It never came back. The "wow" signal remained the most significant candidate for extraterrestrial contact in the history of SETI. And it remained unexplained. And it remained alone until September of 2023. The Lakeview Amateur Astronomy Society was not a prestigious organization. It had 12 members, a website that hadn't been updated since 2019, and a converted barn on a property outside of Chillicothe, Ohio, that one of the members had inherited from his grandfather and repurposed as an observatory. The equipment was mostly secondhand, a receiver array that had been assembled over several years from surplus parts and online purchases, controlled by software that two of the members had written themselves. They met twice a month. They looked at the sky. They kept logs. They submitted their observations to amateur astronomy databases, where they were reviewed by no one in particular and filed without comment. On the night of September 3, 2023, 12 members were present. The meeting had been scheduled as a routine observation session. There was a meteor shower predicted, and the forecast was clear. At 11:16 p.m., the same minute, different date, 46 years later, the receiver picked up something. Thomas, one of the 12 members, was at the monitoring station when it came in. He told us, in a conversation he almost canceled 3 times, which we understand better now than we did when we first contacted him, that his first reaction was equipment failure. The signal was too clean, too structured, too unlike the noise they normally filtered through. He called the other members over. They watched it for 72 seconds, and then it stopped. Thomas said, "We all just stood there for a minute. Nobody said anything. And then someone said, 'That's the wow frequency.' And we all knew what that meant. And nobody said anything again for a long time. 1,420 megahertz. This is not an arbitrary number. Hydrogen, the simplest and most abundant element in the universe, emits radio waves at a specific frequency when its atoms transition between energy states. That frequency is 1,420.405751786 megahertz. It is a constant. It does not change. It is the same everywhere in the observable universe. In the 1950s, scientists theorizing about how civilizations might communicate across interstellar distances concluded independently that 1,420 megahertz was the logical choice. It is the universal frequency. Any civilization advanced enough to transmit radio signals would know it. Any civilization advanced enough to receive them would be listening for it. The 1977 WOW signal came in at 1,420.4556 megahertz. The 2023 signal came in at 1,420.405751 megahertz. The difference matters. The 1977 signal was close to the hydrogen frequency but not precise. The 2023 signal was precise to 6 decimal places, the exact resonance frequency of hydrogen, a level of precision that the Lakeview Group's equipment should not, technically, have been able to detect, a fact that one of the members raised immediately and that none of them have been able to explain. Thomas said, "Our receiver isn't sensitive enough to resolve to that precision. That's not what we built it for. We looked at the logs afterward and the precision was there. We don't know how." The 1977 WOW signal contained no discernible information. It was a carrier wave, a strong, structured signal at the right frequency, but without any modulation that could be interpreted as data. The 2023 signal was different. It was modulated. Over the 72 seconds of transmission, the frequency shifted in a pattern. The Lakeview members recorded everything. They had automatic logging running, which was the only reason they had a complete record, because by the time they thought to check manually, it was over. 3 of the members spent the following week analyzing the modulation pattern. What they found, and what Thomas sent to us in a series of emails that we have verified against the original log files, was this. The signal contained 3 distinct elements. The first was a mathematical sequence. Prime numbers in order encoded in the frequency variations. This is a classic approach in SETI theory. Primes are universal. They cannot be produced naturally, and any civilization that understands mathematics would recognize them immediately. The second element was a coordinate set. 2 numbers expressed in the same encoding as the prime sequence. When plotted against a star chart, those coordinates pointed to a specific location on Earth, not in space, on Earth. The coordinates pointed to the location of Big Ear, the Ohio State telescope that received the original WOW signal in 1977, the telescope that was demolished in 1997, where a golf course now stands. The third element is where the explanation stops. After the prime sequence and the coordinates, the modulation pattern continued for approximately 11 seconds. And in those 11 seconds, there was a third encoded element. It was a single symbol. The Lakeview members transcribed it as best they could from the frequency variations, a geometric form expressed in the modulation pattern that when rendered visually produced a shape. They sent the shape to 3 cryptographers, 2 mathematicians, and a researcher at a university linguistics department who specialized in constructed languages and symbolic systems. None of them recognized it. One of the cryptographers, who agreed to speak with us briefly before declining further contact, said, "I've spent 20 years working with encoded symbolic systems, every known notation system, every constructed language, every mathematical symbology that's been documented. I don't know what this is. That doesn't mean it's extraterrestrial, it means it's outside my reference set. And my reference set is very large. The symbol has not been identified. It remains, as of the time of this story, unknown." Thomas called 2 people the night the signal came in. The first was a contact he had at a university radio astronomy department, someone he had corresponded with before about amateur observations. That person did not answer. The second was someone he described only as a person with relevant expertise, whom he had met at an astronomy conference several years earlier. That person answered. They spoke for approximately 20 minutes. At the end of the conversation, that person told Thomas to document everything carefully and not discuss it publicly until they had spoken again. They have not spoken again. Thomas has tried to contact this person 11 times over the following months. The phone number still works. It rings. No one answers. No voicemail picks up. It simply rings. The Lakeview Group's website went offline 6 weeks after the signal. Thomas told us this was unrelated. A hosting issue, a lapsed payment. The site has not come back up. Of the 12 members present that night, we were able to contact 9. 4 did not respond. 3 responded to say they had no comment. Two agreed to speak briefly, and both corroborated the basic account without adding detail. Thomas was the only one who gave us the logs. He asked us before we ended our last conversation whether we thought anyone would take it seriously. We told him we thought some people would. He said, "That's what I'm worried about, actually. Not that nobody believes it. That the wrong people do." We didn't ask him what he meant by that. We didn't need to. Here is what we can confirm. The WOW signal was received in 1977. It has never been explained. In September of 2023, a signal on the same frequency was received by an amateur group in Ohio. It lasted the same duration. It contained a prime number sequence, coordinates pointing to the original telescope, and an unidentified symbol. 3 members of the group have declined to speak publicly. The one expert Thomas contacted the night of the signal has not returned his calls. The group's website is offline. Here is what we can't confirm: who or what sent the 2023 signal, whether the 1977 signal and the 2023 signal are connected, what the third symbol means, why the coordinates point to a demolished telescope, and whether what Thomas said to us in our last conversation, almost offhandedly at the end, as if he wasn't sure he should say it, is significant. He said, "There's one more thing. The date. September 3rd, 2023. I looked it up afterward. In 1977, August 15th was a Tuesday. In 2023, September 3rd was a Tuesday. Same day of the week. Same time, same frequency, same duration. I don't know if that means anything, but I keep thinking about it. We keep thinking about it too. We want to be precise, as always, about what we are and are not saying. We are not saying that extraterrestrial intelligence contacted an amateur astronomy group in Ohio in 2023. We are not saying the WOW signal was a message and that 2023 was its reply. We are not saying the unidentified symbol is a communication from somewhere beyond our understanding. We are saying something was received. It matched in multiple specific ways a signal received 46 years earlier. It contained elements that have not been explained, and the people closest to it have one by one gone quiet. In 1977, we wrote WOW in the margin. In 2023, something may have written back. We're laying out what we found. You decide what it means. If you know something we don't, you know where to find us. Subscribe, share this, and leave a comment, because the question isn't just what the signal said. The question is, if something has been waiting 46 years to answer, what is it waiting for now?